afternoon, guys. So today we're looking at chapter 10 on power tools and shop equipment. Basically, the way we're looking at it, this guy is, we need power tools to do a lot of things that kind of help expedite any type of service procedure that we will look at doing, whether it's brakes, pulling out tires, engine work, transmission work. So, with the hand tools, there are some areas that we're not able to get to and get access with power tools because we need specific tools, specifically like wrenches and line wrenches, stuff like that, pair of pliers. But for the majority of the tools that we do need to help expedite with service, we heavily rely on power tools, air tools, or more importantly, electric tools that are out there as well. We have electric air ratchets that we have, electric impacts now that for the next phase of the generation of power tools of where we're at in today's society. But we do have a lot of air tools out there, and a lot of dealerships have compressors out there specifically for technicians to use on an everyday basis. You're putting 10 hours a day shift, 8 to 10 hours a day. I can tell you that from being at a dealership where, you're using air tools all throughout the day. So the care and maintenance of them is key and critical from the standpoint that, the more you keep them lubricated on a daily basis, the longer they're going to last you. That's just a given fact and a proven fact. So the compressor, of course, has to be the heartbeat of all the air tools. If you're going to buy a compressor, you want to buy a pretty good one, a pretty good reliable one that they have out there. A lot of times we see compressors ranging anywhere between, you'd say, the smaller one, which is only for temporary use, about 30, 40 bucks, 50 bucks maybe at the most. And then you've got it ranging all the way to about $4,000 for a big heavy duty compressor that we see a lot of the dealerships. For home use, there's a lot of compressors you can buy out there for roughly 110 bucks, or any 110 bucks to about maybe 350 bucks. At the pretty good end for a 110 outlet, 30 gallon, 5 horsepower compressor, which is pretty good. But we need these air tools working for us here. We have to have a good compressor. On page 83 in your book, it kind of shows you a couple of impacts that are available out there. Of course, impacts are used specifically. It should be specifically for taking out lug nuts, removing stubborn bolts like axle nuts that are torqued anywhere between 200 to 350 foot-pounds of torque. Any high type of torque specifications, this would be a good time to use an impact. They've had settings on both ends of it for speed. We always want to be careful and be sure when we get ready to put the lug nuts back on the vehicle that we don't fully put the full amount of impact, because these guys can go anywhere between 600 to 800 and 900 foot-pounds of torque. That's a lot of torque. So exclusively, really, we want to take them off. When we go back in with it, we want to go with a very, very low setting, and then finalize the torque on the lug nuts with a torque wrench, which we'll look at doing a little bit later on. On another video, I will demo some of the air tools. This one is exclusively for the lecture part, but I will do some demos on air tools following this video. So, we're looking at also battery powered impacts. We have them in 3/8 drive. There's 1/2 inch drive that's out there that I saw. They got 1/4 inch drive as well. So these normally have like 2 battery packs, about right now 12, 14, 18 volt, 20 volt batteries that are out there now, which is pretty good. Normally you want to try and get 2 batteries with it, because when one battery starts to kind of work out, then it's time to switch the other one and put it on a charger. Whereas air tools, we just keep trucking with it. Just make sure you oil it before you use it, and you can go all throughout the day without having to mess with it. The black sockets that we see on there are impact sockets. Impact sockets are exactly what they mean. They're very durable. They handle impact very well versus chrome sockets. Chrome sockets do not handle impact very well. They actually can shatter when you use them. So it becomes a safety hazard when you're using a chrome socket on an impact with taking out a lug nut. So just kind of be careful with that. Okay. So get you a good set of standard and metric sockets, shallow and deep. So you'll be able to perform the job with the proper tools. We got die grinders out there, air drills, blow guns, air operated grease guns, which are pretty cool to have. Battery powered grease guns. What's a grease gun? A grease gun is what we use to grease like U-joints, all the suspension components that have a zerk fitting in there. Even some that do not have a zerk fitting in there, they make a special needle that you can use on a grease gun, and it injects grease inside the boot. So that's another pretty good tool to have. I have one of those, and I'll kind of show you those a little bit later on. Got drop lights that we have out there as well for electrical tools. Of course, those are a necessity for anything. Now we have a lot of cordless lights that are out there that we use out in the field. So you might want to invest in one of those right there. Bench grinders, of course, those are good for helping us out with tools, dressing up with punches and chisels, used for burring, deburring, grinding, which is key critical on some components or some things that we need to grind. Okay. Of course, our vise, our workbench that's really, I call it our third hand right there. When you need to have somebody hold something very durably, you want to use a vise bench type of setup on a workbench. The bench vices are a very good tool. We use those quite a bit out in the shop and lab area, almost everywhere. Especially like when you're doing struts, there's an adapter to use to install on here, so you can actually remove the spring when you're taking out struts and replacing them. The other thing we use is quite a bit is hydraulic presses. There's lots of times when we're going to have to press out bearings, U-joints. Sometimes that can be done. Piston wrist pins can be removed. We've done that in my injury repair class. So those are some things that we can use there. Typically, those run anywhere between $120 to about $350 for that. It's on page 85 on the top on figure 1012 there. Portable chain and hoist. Of course, we use that quite a bit in the injury repair class when we have to remove an engine from a vehicle. Then we do have engine stands that we show students how to put the engine on an engine stand anytime we have to do engine work. The engine stand allows us to manipulate that engine all the way around to remove components and to install components before we put the engine back onto the vehicle. So another good purpose of the engine stand, or portable crane as the book calls it, is sometimes when you're doing a fuel pump job on a pickup truck, you can actually remove the bed and take the bed off of the pickup truck and get access to the fuel pump that way. So it's like 6 bolts that hold it together, a couple of wire harnesses, and then the bed comes off the vehicle on the back of the truck, and then you can get access to the fuel pump. Or you can, of course, do the conventional ways, take the fuel pump and bring it down and drop the fuel tank down and change the fuel pump and put it back up in there. So either way, it's pretty good to use and have, especially necessity in the injury repair area. The other thing is welding. Book illustrates exhaust acetylene, oxygen acetylene welding right there, which is prevalently used quite a bit out there for cutting and welding exhaust systems and fabricating things. MIG welding is another one that's used quite a bit now, more likely today than ever, for exhaust work, because it provides a clean burn, a clean bead around the exhaust system. Cutting wise, fabricating wise, it's a good idea to kind of learn how to weld, because there may be some instances where you may have to do that on the vehicle for whatever reason. And so you might want to look at trying to get into that maybe at the Southwest campus there. They have a good welding program over there. So what I'm going to do is later on, I'm going to post out some videos on taking care of the power tools and how to use them, show you how to use them correctly. so that way you have a grasp and understanding to be safe while you're using the power tools. And look forward to the next lecture, which we'll probably get into, which is coming up on chapter 12, which is going to be on micrometer usage. So we'll show you how to use the micrometers next. So you guys be safe and look for the next video coming up on the demo for the power tools. All right, take care and be safe.